Welcome to the RD2BE podcast. Each week we sit down with a different registered dietitian nutritionist to showcase the diversity of opportunity in the dietetics profession. Our aim is to dismantle the notion that there is a traditional career path. I'm Carl Barnes, the registered dietitian behind the scenes of RD2BE.
And I am Jenna Warnock, the RD2BE host. Our RD guests share their stories, career paths, and advice to help students like us succeed in the profession. This episode is part of our mini-series featuring the Accreditation Council for Education in Nutrition and Dietetics, otherwise known as ACEND. We are creating this series to clear up common confusion and misconceptions about ACEND and its relation to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, as well as the Commission on Dietetic Registration. We're also in a super transformative phase of dietetics with a new master's degree requirement, dietetics application process, and ACEND also created some new advanced practice doctoral standards where understanding these topics are crucial for pushing our profession forward. Join our conversation with Dr. Rayane AbuSaba. She's the Executive Director of ACEND, and in this series, we're going to discuss what ACEND is, their new standards, and what steps you can take to uplift and advocate for our profession with these standards. Welcome back to another week of the RD2BE podcast. I'm your host, Jenna, and we're continuing our series of featuring Dr. Rayane AbuSaba, the Executive Director of ACEND. This week, we're going to talk all about the master's degree requirement, which has definitely been a discussion since 2024 marks officially the first year where it is a requirement to take the RD exam. And we're super happy to have Rayane yet again talk about this very important subject. And we're going to cover so many things, starting with where the master's degree conversation began, where it is now, how you can take advantage of it. We're just going to dive into so many really good topics. And so, Rayane, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me, Jenna. Glad to be here again.
Yes. And so the very first question that we just kind of want to dive straight into is, what was ACEND's response to the master's degree requirement being implemented by CDR, where it all began?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great question. So, ACEND had started working on the future education model standards, and our future education model standards, sometimes you hear me call them FEM. They were developed truly with the intent to have a graduate degree. So we wanted to have a graduate degree standards, have programs, be piloted as graduate degree standards to have graduate entry-level dietitians at that graduate degree. So originally, when the discussions came down from the Council on Future Practice about that dietitians should have moved to the master's level, and then CDR had wanted, to start advancing to that master's level, ACEND really had requested and wanted CDR to wait, because we wanted them to wait to move to the master's degree because ACEND was testing it. So we wanted to complete our research that we're doing on those FEM standards, and so that we can see the impact of the graduate degree on our students, on diversity, on how successful they are and everything. And I think that is also part of the reason why CDR probably gave 10 years to move to that graduate degree. But when it was announced by CDR, we did not stop. We just continued our plans to continue with the future education model standards. These are our graduate programs that are at the graduate level. And we just wanted to evaluate these graduate programs under those standards and compare them to our 2022 standards, which are our DPD-DI track and our coordinated program tracks under our regular existing standards. So, the more we approach 2024, I was talking to our accreditation legal counsel constantly, and we realized that we just could not let our students graduate from any program that prepares RDNs and not be able to sit directly for the exam. Students, when they graduate, they have to be ready to sit for the exam. Otherwise, we're not meeting our responsibilities for Title IV. We're just not following Department of Education regulations. So in 2021, ACEND mandated all our programs to either move to the graduate degree or for them to have a process to make sure that all the students, when they graduate, they're ready to take that exam. So that was our response. And as of today, 100% of ACEND programs are at the graduate level.
Gotcha. And whenever you're talking about the graduate level and making sure that all students graduate being ready to take the exam, is this only just talking about FEMs, or what about those students who maybe do a dietetic internship standalone right before they take the exam? Is the main emphasis of what you're saying is making sure that they have a graduate level degree before they take the exam?
That is a great question, Jenna. You just like hit it right on. So all our coordinated programs have to be at the graduate level. Many of our DI dietetic internship DI programs have joined with a university to offer that master's degree. So they're doing them either at the same time, or do the master's, finish the supervised practice, or do the supervised practice, finish the master's. What ACEND required is that DIs, this really specifies the DIs, because the coordinated programs had to all be at the graduate level. But for the DIs, they either had to, there's many pathways, but that, make sure the students are ready to take the exam. So they cannot really finish the DI and be able to be put into the rep system for CDR to take the exam unless that student has the master's degree and all the competencies met from the DI and have both of them. So some DIs will only accept students that already completed a master's degree. Some DIs will offer different masters around and say, you can join our DI and then do the same time those different master's degrees. And then other DIs can maybe accept students that are already in the process of having a master's degree with the assurances that that student will finish. So there's just a lot of different ways. And of course, the easiest one for the student is truly to have a DI that combined with a master's degree, and they're offering them together. So yeah, we have them all, but they have to have both master's and DI when they finish that DI.
Yeah, and the kind of theme that I'm hearing, and it definitely sounds like, is it's moving students and aspiring RDs into a direction to increase their competency, to increase their knowledge base before they take the exam, so that they're also more prepared for the exam to become practicing RDs. And given the master's degree requirement, there's been a lot of mixed reviews from a lot of different people, where you have people with the idea of, oh, it's just going to add more debt to my student loans that I already have. RDs don't make enough already. So what's a master's degree going to do? How are we going to actually make the master's degree worth it? And so for you, your perspective, your experience, how can people aspiring to become an RD take advantage of this new master's degree requirement? Because whenever you go to the ACEND website or look at the requirements to take the RD exam, it just says graduate degree. It doesn't specifically say master's in nutrition, master's in clinical nutrition. And so a lot of people are like, well, what does a master's degree do if I can just have it in anything? And so there's this misconception that the master's degree isn't really contributing to being prepared to take the RD exam. And so how can we necessarily flip the script to ensure students that are aspiring to become RDs to know that the master's degree is beneficial long-term, and just how it will genuinely prepare them more for the RD exam and becoming RDs?
Yeah, this is a loaded question, and I just have so much to say here. First off, couple of things. The notion that the MS is in anything is very misleading. We know this came from CDR, and CDR has always said it's a bachelor's. You just need a bachelor's degree. They never said you need a bachelor's in nutrition. They depend on ACEND to provide the competencies for the student to be ready to take the CDR exam. What they did was exactly the same thing, nothing different. They said a master's, you need a master's degree. The way they said you need to become an RD, you need a bachelor's degree. So, but assuring students that every single ACEND program, all 400 plus of them that have graduated degrees, that have moved to the graduate degree, they all have a master's in the field that's related to nutrition and dietetics. You cannot meet the ACEND standards with a master's in anything. Like, people are advertising the basket weaving one. There's no way. You're just still, then you have to get the basket weaving master's and have 2 more years of education on top. So you might as well get a doctorate degree at that time, at that rate. So, our master's at ACEND are masters in nutrition and public health, sports nutrition. We have clinical nutrition, community. We have MBAs. All of them are meeting the ACEND requirements and standards. I did that analysis just a few months ago, and not one single master's did not relate to dietetics. So so it is a myth. That really was propagated by those that don't support the graduate degree. I'll tell you, I was very tepid about the graduate degree myself because exactly of the worry about the students paying money and things. When I was a faculty, I worried about it. But over time, when we are measuring the accomplishments of our graduate program graduates, they are passing the exam 16, 17 points higher first time pass rate than the students coming from the 2022 standards that don't have graduate degrees. They are taking the exam less times if they don't pass the first time. I mean, the benefit is definitely huge. They're also talking about how they feel so accomplished. They feel very prepared. 10 percentage points higher than when we see the other students feel prepared. So the results of our study on our graduate programs are really showing some huge benefits to that degree compared to students who may not have it. So definitely there's an advantage. But so putting that aside, let's talk about you cannot become an RD anymore without that master's degree, right? So, you have to have it. If you don't become an RD, then what's going to happen? You're going to regret it. How many students do I have that did not get their RD and they regret it again and again? Why? First, to get all that education and then become a nutritionist, you just limited the availability of all your jobs. That that's going to be difficult. Most of the job that's available still require an RD. Yeah, there's just a few jobs. People talk about the health coaching positions out there, but the health coaching positions out there are going to prefer the RD every single time. So you're really competing against RDs. That's a problem. Yes, you work in a state that does not require the RD. You're going to find a job. Well, now you're moving states and you're moving a state that requires an ID. What's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to you getting a job? It's going to be much more difficult. So if you're not liking your job, if you're within state and you're not an RD and you're a nutritionist, let's say, and you don't like your job, what's going to happen if you dislike the job? The ability of you finding another job is going to be so much more difficult. Yet I have been a faculty since 2003, right? I have yet to have a student who graduated as an RD and not able to find a job within a few months. The jobs are out there. Just spend that extra time. It is worth it. And with the shortage of RDs, you can just imagine naming your price now, the salaries. I hope our students are negotiating right now. This is the time to negotiate because you're most likely, if you're not limiting yourself geographically to one hospital or one area, this is the time you're going to get many, many jobs and many positions. So again, I believe that when the decision was made by CDR to move to the master's level, we need to remember that already about half of the RDs, I remember looking at it, and at the time we were about 47% or something of RDs already had a master's degree. Why would an RD pursue a master's degree if it wasn't helpful to them when it's not required? Clearly, it has advantages. So that's one. So, and of course, we know that some students are going to finish the DPD and they're going to want to go to other health professions, maybe PT, OT, PA, medical doctors, whatever. This is nothing new. The DPD has always been one of the best programs to prepare students in the health sciences. When nursing school might require one course in chemistry, DPDs are requiring 5. So DPDs truly have a lot to offer, and a lot of students have always come to the DPD. Not all of them have wanted to be a dietitian. But it's truly being at the bachelor's level in the DPD, a very mobile degree, and then getting your dietetics, it's a great mobile degree. The master's just adds to that mobility, to your ease of passing that exam, to your skills. And I guarantee you, if you remember what happened to PT, physical therapy, when they moved to the doctorate, it was in shambles because their salaries were $60,000 a year at a doctorate level. And now it's rated one of the best, easiest jobs, greatest positions, because now they move to about 90, 100,000 after, 5 or 10 years of having that doctorate. We just need to work towards it. It's not going to happen overnight.
And I'm glad that you emphasized how it's something that won't happen overnight, similar to like becoming prepared to take the RD exam. Like even whenever it was just at the bachelor's degrees plus dietetic internship level, that still took time to prepare to study to take the RD exam. And whenever it comes to implementing the master's degree requirement, there are, like with what you said, there are so many different pathways that, and the reason why there's so many different pathways is to accommodate as many people as humanly possible in order to still make everyone feel prepared to take the RD exam no matter where you're starting at. On this podcast, we've interviewed so many second career dietitians, and they, whenever it came to like with what you said, the future education model, even if they'd had bachelor's degrees in something completely unrelated to dietetics, they still needed like prerequisites that were very intensive in like sciences, nutrition, things like that. And then they had to take a future education model graduate program in order to sit for the RD exam. And whenever it comes to, which the next question kind of gets into finances, even with the extra kind of investment into the graduate degree, you are also investing in your career. And with what you said, mobility, like investing in that master's degree allows you to move into so many other directions that just one like bachelor's degree plus a dietetic internship would not allow you to have. And so I think mentioning mobility was a great way and a great segue into talking about the finances aspect of the master's degree in the sense of just the fears that a lot of people have regarding the finances. Because getting a graduate degree is, depending on the program that you choose, it can be expensive, and they range from $0 all the way to literally six figures. And I think it's important to kind of shine more light on that situation. And I think you, more than anyone else, is a great person to ask regarding that. And so, how would you say can students expect to afford the new master's degree requirement? What advice would you give? You're definitely the expert in this field. And so, for those aspiring to become an RD, if they see finances as a barrier, how would you kind of guide them in that direction of lessening those fears or worries?
Yeah. So absolutely. And our concerns, one being a faculty myself, and I have students who struggled sometimes to pay their schooling. So of course, this is a huge worry, and it's a big worry for the ACEND board, for myself, for our staff. We are concerned about the students affording the master's degree. But before I really answer your question, I just have to tell you that dietetics remains one of the most best return on investment kind of careers out there. I remember when we attended, the Department of Education, when they review all the accreditors, they hold, twice a year, they hold a meeting with all the Department of Education experts, and they review the different accreditors and the different jobs. So I remember that year when the dietetics was being reviewed, also physical assistants, the PAs were also being, physician assistant, were also being reviewed. And the physician assistant's return on investment for the amount of schooling they get and what the debt they get was about $300,000 almost on average in the Department of Education. They have a database, was close to $300,000 when they're done, and they're making about $100-some thousand in terms of salary. Dietetics was ranged between $45,000 and $70,000 with a salary of about $65,000 to $75,000 starting. which I think is going to increase. And that includes all the graduate degrees. So the physician assistant's graduate degree and the ACEND, and of course, the student's graduate degree with dietetics. So that also is something that we have to realize. When a student graduates from a DPD and they come to me and they used to tell me, Dr. A, I'm not going to continue to the DI. It's too expensive. It's going to cost me $10,000. I'm just going to, sit and just be a nutritionist. And I say, have you thought of what salary you're going to make as a nutritionist versus as a dietitian? That 1 year, you can make it up in one single year being a dietitian. Think big, think forward. It is so important to think on the return of investment. And thus far, dietetics was one of the best professions in the Department of Education database in terms of we were the cheapest graduate degree out there. And with the return on investment, it was worth it. So having said that, that does not assist the student who's still struggling, still, may not be able to afford it, which of course it is expensive. One of the things ACEND requires is that all our programs are required to provide information to our prospective students and to the public about the tuition, the cost, all fees, everything the student has to pay on their website. If they provide financial aid, if they have monetary stipends, all of that information has to be on the program's website. So that is one thing that is very important for the student to know. They need to shop around. Don't just say, oh my gosh, I love this program. It's a public health program. It has 70 credits. It's going to cost me $200,000 when you have other programs that can get you almost a master's degree for $20,000. Think of where your return on investment comes. You really need to do your research and take that emotion out of there. Both are going to get you to be a well-prepared RD, and they're going to get you to get that degree and take that exam. Is that $180,000 more worth it? Think about that. Then also the ACEND website itself, we offer an accredited program directory. And that just helps the students look at where the programs are, what type of programs they are. Are they DIMS? Is it a GP? Is it a coordinated program? The GP is a graduate program, where they are, so that the student can really try to say, okay, I really need these 6 programs. Now let me go look at the price and compare, make an Excel sheet. That's what I tell my daughter. Make an Excel sheet and prepare and put everything in an Excel sheet and decide which one is the most affordable to you. Take advantage of programs that are short. You have programs that are 3+2, some that are 4+1. For undergrad, the last semester of the undergrad is a graduate degree, and then the last year is a DIMS. So they combine that last year of the undergrad with the supervised practice in the summer and the MSDI. That can something that can save you money and can be almost as the same price, almost as a DI alone. So think about that. It also saves you time. You're going back to the workforce. Every year you save yourself. That's a full salary you're saving yourself. So you really need to think money and budget and be very smart about it. I always say, take that heart out of it. As long as you like the program and you're comfortable with the faculty, take your heart out of it. Oh, it's a beautiful campus. You're a graduate student now. All of that will not matter. You have one thought, and that's to get that grad degree. Take advantage of the free DIs. Those that offer, stipends. All the VA DIs offer stipends. You have now this year heard of 2 new DI programs that are completely free to students, where the hospital is offering full stipend to the students to complete the DI. There are a lot of those out there. I think last time I looked, about 1/3 of ACEND's DIs are free. So look at those. They can save you a lot of money. And especially now with the need for dietitians, I'm sure that companies are going to start offering a lot of those incentives. So another one, if you believe that you will be able to get a position in one of the bigger universities or more research-oriented universities, Go for those, apply for some of these. There's a need for students right now. Enrollment is down. You might get in more than you think you might. And these programs will offer you the whole master's for free, and they will give you sometimes a stipend, or they give you a stipend of some kind. So again, you might become a teaching assistant, a research assistant, all of that, though, that can help you. I got my master's for free because I worked for the university throughout my master's as a TA, and then did the same as a PhD, became an RA, which is a research assistant, and then worked my entire PhD for free. So go for these programs, and if you feel that you can make it, go for them. And if you feel like you're on the edge, go for them, because enrollment is tough these days, and you might have a good chance of getting in. And then finally, we all know the Academy and the Foundation, they do a fantastic job giving thousands of dollars of funds in scholarships to students and supporting students. I mean, single scholarship you can think of the foundation thinks about it offering. And I'll tell you, all it takes sometimes is me going to the foundation and saying, oh, we would love to have some money on this to help students. And man, and the staff at the foundation, they will find donors and they will find a stipend. Actually, I think I have one that somebody recommended that I'm going to go to them with, because they're just phenomenal at trying to find money for our students. So you just have a lot of options. Do your research, and hopefully you can afford it. It will be a little bit more expensive, but remember that return on investment, especially as the salaries with the master's degrees are going to start picking up. The way I'm making that prediction, I think they're going to pick up, and they're going to pick up fast. I think it will be worthwhile.
No, definitely. And I'm glad that you prefaced with the return on investment. And because a lot of people, they have this mindset of, it's not going to change anything. My salary is going to change, stay the same. It's going to be exactly what it was if I didn't have a master's degree. It's definitely with the trajectory that you just described, that's definitely not going to be the case. And also, you quite literally spelled out just all the different ways to mitigate. I mean, of course, there are some ways where it's you can find free ways, or at least kind of waive certain costs and things like that. But there's a whole spectrum that you just presented where if you do your research, you take your heart out of it, which I think is such a great piece of advice that I really do want to focus on, is that money, and I mean, I definitely know this. My family was in low income at a point, so I understand finance causes stress, money causes stress, anxiety. It does affect us emotionally. Whenever it comes to planning your future, you're thinking of a better financial state in mind. You're thinking positively towards your financial state. And so, yes, it is expensive, and it can be expensive to get a graduate degree. But like what you said, there are so many different ways to mitigate those costs. I am exactly in the boat that you are in with your master's degree. I'm currently in a master's degree program that's getting covered with a stipend because I'm working for the university. And I knew that, with my interest in research, I knew that I knew myself. I took my heart out of it and was like, financially, this makes sense. I know logistically I'm good in school. I can handle research. I was a research assistant in undergrad. I looked at the stuff on paper and was like, this is logistically a good fit and financially viable. And so you brought up so many good points and just actual directions to take students. And again, it's not only knowing the opportunities or knowing the options, but the students also knowing themselves as well and knowing which option fits them the best. Because with there being so many pathways, you have to really dig and know who you are as a student, how you learn, how you work, whether or not you can completely dedicate all your time in a program, or if you have to work. It requires both doing research on yourself and research on the programs. And so I think that's just a lot of great advice covering finance fears. And again, I definitely agree that the demand of dietitians is only going to come up. And so if we haven't spelled out the benefits of the master's degree enough, and if people need more reassurance of the master's degree being a step in the right direction for dietitians, for you, your experience, because not only do you have a master's degree, you have a PhD, and you also said that over half of dietitians prior to the master's degree requirement had master's degrees already. And so if you could kind of share your insight into maybe what that half of dietitians were thinking with having the master's degree, what are the benefits? What will students see when they have the master's degree that a bachelor's alone won't offer them?
Yeah, and Jenna, I mean, that's a great question, and that will be something that I can name a few things, and I'm sure there's plenty of things because, I mean, I know myself, having gotten that PhD, all the things that I didn't realize, all those benefits that come to you that you had no idea they were coming to you, right? When I got the PhD, I was like, oh, I like research. I want to get PhD. It was not about all this extra stuff. It was not about one day I'm going to be the ACEND executive director. These things you don't realize, and they just come because of your of that degree, believe it or not. So I gonna predict, and I'm a very positive person. I am somebody who adores dietetics. I think it's one of the best jobs in the world, and I fell into it by accident, and I love this career. But I believe that people who say that getting a master's degree does not gain you anything are those who don't have a master's degree. You know, we all know that a master's degree will get you a lot. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to count a few things that just come off the top of my head. First, flexibility. Every time you advance degrees, you are making yourself more flexible. You have now so many more jobs that are available to you that were not available to you when you're at the bachelor's level. First set of jobs I'll tell you is the state departments or the federal government. They have jobs that they assign for bachelor's degree, and then they have jobs that they assign for the master's degree. You can never access these master's degree jobs that are usually $20,000, $30,000 more without that master's degree. I remember when I worked when I was at the New York State Department of Health, Nutritionist 1 or Public Health Nutritionist 1 was the bachelor's level, and Public Health Nutritionist 2 was the master's level. The difference in salary was unbelievable. And the range of that salary difference was unbelievable. There's plenty of jobs out there that require a master's degree. You will never be able to access without that degree. So all of a sudden you have it. Now you have a huge amount of jobs that are opened up for you. Just like if you're only a nutritionist and you're not an RD, you've got this many jobs. And now all of a sudden you're an RD, you've got this many jobs, and you're a master's, you've got this many jobs. It just offers you a lot of flexibility to move and go around. Offers you mobility. Don't forget about that. It allows you mobility within the same company. So now you become maybe a manager, you become a supervisor, you get ahead. For example, with ACEND, you are not able to become an ACEND manager unless you have a master's degree. Otherwise, you are not a manager. You're a coordinator or you're something. You have to have that master's degree to get those jobs. So for you, if you're a coordinator and you want to move to become an ACEND manager, you have to get that master's degree. So it offers you that mobility to move. The most important thing is mobility across the states and mobility globally. So you want a job, you go across the state, you're going to find more likely to find jobs again across states and globally. So that mobility is very important. Promotion or increasing your level where you are. So the type of jobs, and I'm repeating myself, but the type of jobs that are available are not only at a higher level, but they also are going to pay you more. I mean, all you have to do is look at government jobs. So you're able to go further in your company, get promoted to higher level positions that pay better. Now, you may have a master's degree, be in your position, and go, well, I can't move forward. There's no jobs available for me to move forward. Well, maybe where you are is not. So move to another job. Easier said than done. But you know that these days, the recommendation is for you not to sit in the same job for 10 years. You're never going to improve your salaries if you sit in the same job for 10 years. You have to take risks, be mobile, and move jobs. That's how your salary increases. So again, the masters, as we say, talking about salary increases, will help with salaries. And like I say, I predict it's going to help quite a bit in the future. They're definitely higher at the master's level. we keep hearing from the dietitians that got the master's degrees and now stayed in the same job, that their salary did not increase. Of course your salary is not increased if you are in the same position. How can you? That position was slated for a bachelor's level individual. The range of income is for a bachelor's level individual. You stay in it, you're lucky if your boss is going to give you extra money for getting a master's degree. I would not. If one of my ACEND managers get a PhD, it's not going to earn them any more money. They're still doing the same job that I require a master's for. So that is something to consider. That master's degree, unless you move positions within the same company or somewhere else to a higher level position that is slated for a master's degree, of course you're not going to see an elevated salary. So you have to apply for those jobs that are at the master's level. And then I bet you're going to see that increase in salaries. So the reason now we're in a transition period where dietitians have not moved, they just got the master's degree, but they really didn't change jobs. So this is where you're seeing a little stagnation, exactly what happened with PT. But soon they're going to start taking these better jobs, taking these higher jobs, and that salary is going to follow. Just give it a few more years, 3, 4, 5 years, you'll get there. So that's my thought. But then finally, you're going to get greater job satisfaction and fulfillment. Their likelihood of that is increased. I remember a few years back, before COVID, Dr. Abad Jorge did a research study where she studied the RDN satisfaction with them having a bachelor's degree or then when they get the master's degree. And she compared the RDNs and the bachelors with a bachelor's degree satisfaction with their jobs to the RDNs with the master's degree, and she found significant differences in terms of more satisfaction with their role. This could be because they get greater respect that they earn, maybe not, from other peers for that degree, maybe because they have a seat at the table, because now they have a master's degree, maybe because of the type of jobs. I don't believe she looked at exactly why, but definitely found a significant difference in higher satisfaction and higher fulfillment for those RDs that had the master's degree.
Yeah, and I'm glad that whenever it comes to wrapping together all of the things that we just hit, ending with satisfaction and fulfillment. The goal with the master's degree requirement isn't to have students just pay more money to get the same outcome that they would have had with just a bachelor's degree. The goal is to increase satisfaction with your jobs, increase mobility, increase fulfillment, increase salary, literally increase everything that you've mentioned before: flexibility, mobility, promotions. It quite literally opens the door. It boils down to, again, with what you said, tying things together, doing research on programs that fit within your budget, fit within your passion, your needs, what will benefit you the most long term. And also remembering, with what you said, the return on investments, how it is, even with the master's degree, it is still worth becoming a dietitian compared to other health professions, because the amount of money, and also ACEND, with what you said, is working hard to mitigate a lot of those expenses with traditional graduate degrees and those dietetic internships throughout. With the coming months and with the coming times, we're in a transition period, so we may not see all of the benefits overnight, but with everything, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so we're going to have to trust the process, also trust ourselves in the process of being able to navigate, what programs are right for us, what fits best with us and our goals. And really, you spelled it out perfectly. The opportunities are out there and they'll only continue to grow with being out there. And so hopefully this episode really helped kind of clear up the fog or the cobwebs that a lot of students may have or have been hearing about the master's degree requirement. And I hope that the bottom line that people learn from this episode is to do your research, know yourself, know all the options that are out there, and know that those options will only increase. But Rayane, thank you so much. Like, I really, really appreciate how much time you're taking to really sit down, dig through these difficult topics that have just been circulating dietetics for who knows how long. And I genuinely know that the people listening in will learn a great deal just about how great the profession is and how to really truly take advantage of the master's degree. And so, again, I cannot thank you enough.
Jenna, can I just say one last
Yes.
thing? One of the biggest goals of moving to the master's degree is also protecting the public.
Mm-hmm.
If many of you are way too, I never would have felt like I'm going to get to a point where I say, oh, I've been in this job for 30 years. But when I went through dietetics, the clinical nutrition book was about 200 pages. Okay, it was this big. It's about this big right now. How can we fit all of that in the undergraduate curriculum?
Yeah.
We moved from 3 credits to a 4 credit with lab to a 6 credits clinical dietetic, MNT, to right. And now it's not enough. And now we need advanced MNT. We can't cover that book. All of the information in the health professions has increased so much. And that's a big thing. We can't teach the entire dietetics MNT knowledge, plus all the new community, everything that's coming up in those undergrad years too. So I just want to close it up too to say protecting the public and having dietitians that are well knowledgeable and informed coming out of our programs is also very, very important. And I didn't want us to forget that. But you are more than welcome. I will let you close now. And I just want to say it is a great pleasure to be here with you and work with you, Jenna. You just make it so fun.